The time is 8:45 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here is the news edited by Lal Malavarachi and read by Tilani Pires. Minister Kelly Rambukwala says that the government has not made any influence to the CID or Attorney General's Department. 674 more COVID-19 cases reported today in the country, increasing total thus far to 103,050. The Minister of Education is to run all government schools under a single timetable. A circular was issued on ensuring public service without interruption. And on news overseas, Delhi adds makeshift crematoriums as deaths climb. A cabinet co-spokesperson, Minister Kelly Rambukwala, says that the government has not made any influence to the CID or Attorney General's Department. The government is committed to maintain the judiciary and the police totally independent. He made these comments at the cabinet press briefing held in Colombo today to announce cabinet decisions. The minister further said that a decision has been taken to draft a bill banning the full face covering in public places. Speaking further, he pointed out that issues concerning national security and terrorism have emerged as full face covering makes it difficult to confirm one's identity. The National Operations Centre for the Prevention of COVID-19 Outbreak, NOC-PCO, reported that 674 more persons have tested positive for the coronavirus today. This brings the total number of positive cases of COVID-19 reported in the country thus far to 103,050. Earlier today, Sri Lanka's recoveries count reached 94,856 after 279 more patients were discharged as they have regained health. As per statistics, 7,547 active cases are still receiving medical care. Meanwhile, the death toll now stands at 647. The Minister of Education says that all government schools in the country are to be run under a single timetable. The Secretary to the Ministry, Professor Kapila Perera, said that this is to be carried out online under new technology. Over 4.3 million students in 10,165 government schools are to be benefited under this program. They will be able to continue their education without interruption, even amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The police media spokesman, DIG Ajit Rohana, stated that 108 persons have been arrested in the last 24 hours on charges of failing to wear face masks and maintain social distancing. The DIG said a total of 3,755 persons have been arrested for violating the COVID-19 health regulations since the 30th of October last year. He said that cases have been filed against 3,650 of them under the provisions of the Quarantine and Prevention of Diseases Ordinance and the Penal Code of Sri Lanka. Most of those arrested were residents of the Western Province. The Narcotics Control Unit of Sri Lanka Customs has seized a cocaine consignment sent to Sri Lanka from Jamaica, concealed in a personal gift parcel. The parcel in question, air-mailed through a private courier service located in Sidua, was taken into custody today. The parcel, which arrived in the country nearly a week before, was under the name of a recipient, a 44-year-old residing in the Narayanpeta area. The cocaine consignment seized by the customs is estimated to be worth 2.5 million rupees. That ends the local news for now.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The Ministry of Public Services, Provincial Councils and Local Government has issued a circular today to ensure the continuation of the public service without any interruption due to the prevailing COVID-19 situation in the country. The circular states that having taken into consideration the set of instructions issued by the health sectors to prevent the pandemic, the provisions of the Public Administration Circular 2/2021, dated 5th March 2021, are hereby temporarily suspended until further notice. The circular issued by the Secretary of the Ministry to all relevant officials states the following. Officers serving in all public institutions may be allowed to abstain from reporting for duties for 2 working days per week up to a maximum of 8 days per calendar month without deducting such days from their leave from today. Therefore, the heads of institutions can make an arrangement which is more appropriate to the particular institution. If it is required to call officers for duty for more than 3 days per week in order to maintain the service delivery without interruption, the respective head of institution can take a decision for calling officers for duty accordingly. However, every officer should be prepared to perform the tasks relevant to duties online even on the days on which the officer is not called for duty under a duty roster. Action should be taken under general procedure regarding leave of the officers who are not included in the duty roster depending on medical grounds or other reasons. Since the objective of introducing a system of a duty roster is to minimize the spread of the virus, the first priority should always be given to this objective. The heads of institutions should pay attention personally for engaging the officers in their institutions on duty, adhering to the health instructions. That was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sidhalepa Vedamahatmya.
And on Watchlight tonight, Minister Kehelia Rabukwala says the government has decided to close all schools and tuition classes in the island until Friday. The decision has been taken during the cabinet meeting held today. Minister Rabukwala said that all other educational institutions also should take measures to remain closed until Friday. All preschools and perivens will also be closed until Friday. That came to you in Watchlight.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of
the best discount in this Urdu season, People's Leasing Polybasi. Enjoy an interest rebate of 25% from People's Leasing for all the leasing facilities during this Urdu season. Call 011-206-300 for more details. Conditions apply.
People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
World News headlines first. Delhi adds makeshift crematoriums as deaths climb. French warn UK ahead of the vote on Brexit trade deal. The salmon you buy in the future may be farmed on land. Makeshift pyres are being built in crematoriums in India's capital Delhi as the city runs out of space to cremate its dead. Deaths have been steadily rising in India as a deadly second wave of COVID infections devastates the country, with 380 recorded in Delhi alone yesterday. Medical oxygen, intensive care unit, ICU beds and life-saving medicines are in short supply. India has recorded more than 1 million COVID-19 cases in just a few days. The European Parliament is expected to ratify the post-Brexit EU-UK trade deal amid tensions, including a French threat of reprisals against the UK. The Trade and Cooperation Agreement, TCA, has been operating provisionally since January and is expected to be ratified by MEPs later on Tuesday. French Europe Minister Clement Bion accused the UK of blocking fishing rights. He said the EU could respond with reprisals in financial services. The TCA covers EU-UK trade in goods. In a series of indoor tanks 40 miles southwest of Miami, Florida, 5 million fish are swimming in circles a very long way from home. The fish in question are Atlantic salmon, which are far more typically found in the cold waters of Norway's fjords or Scotland's lochs. As the species is not native to Florida and would be unable to cope with the state's tropical heat, the water tanks are kept well chilled and housed in a vast air-conditioned and heavily insulated warehouse-like building. The facility, called the Blue House, opened its first phase last year and intends to be the world's largest land-based fish farm. Targeting an initial production of 9,500 metric tons of fish per year, its owner, Atlantic Sapphire, plans to increase that to 222,000 tons by 2031. Back to the world news headlines. Delhi adds makeshift crematoriums as deaths climb. French warn UK ahead of the vote on Brexit trade deal. The salmon you buy in the future may be farmed on land. That ends world news.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of
the best discount in this Urdu season, People's Leasing Polybasi. Enjoy an interest rebate of 25% from People's Leasing for all the leasing facilities during this Urdu season. Call 011-206-300 for more details. Conditions apply.
People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
Moving on with development news, the cement grinding station set up at Mirinjavilla at a cost of $100 million is capable of handling 3.6 metric tons of cement. The project director said that the annual domestic demand for cement is around 8.5 million metric tons, of which around 2.8 million metric tons is produced locally. That came to you in development news. Moving on with sports news right now, fast bowler Chamika Karunaratne and left-arm spinner Lakshan Sandakan, who joined the Sri Lanka Test squad for the second test as replacements, will have their first training session tomorrow at the Pallekele Stadium in Kandy. The two players were grafted into the Test squad following the injury to their key fast bowler Lahiru Kumara, who broke down with a hamstring injury while fielding on the third day of the first test against Bangladesh on Friday. The second test will commence on Thursday, the 29th of April, at the same venue. That was sports news.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business news. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Sri Lanka has raised the tax on potatoes to 50 rupees per kilogram with effect from today. The seasonal domestic harvest coming in, the government said. Potato harvesting has begun in Nuwara, and this year a bumper harvest is expected, a government statement said. In January 2021, potatoes were taxed at 15 rupees a kilogram. That's business news.
Business news. Sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
Now we have economic news. The estimated economically active population is about 8.5 million in the fourth quarter 2020, of which 66.3% are males and 33.7% are females. The economically inactive population is about 8.4 million. Out of the economically inactive population, 27.3% are males and 72.7% are females. According to the Department of Census and Statistics, Sri Lanka Labour Force Survey, fourth quarter 2020. The survey report also says that the male participation in the labour force is always higher than that of females. That came to in economic news. And finally, the weather report. The Met Department says showers or thundershowers will occur at several places in the central, Sabaragamuwa, southern, Uva and north central and eastern provinces and in Mullaitivu district during the evening or night. Showers may occur in the western and southern coastal areas during the morning. Fairly heavy rainfalls above 50 millimeters can be expected at some places in the Sabaragamuwa, Uva and central provinces and in the Gaul and Mathura districts. That was the weather report. And now to end this news broadcast, the main points once again. Minister Kaeli Rabukwala says that the government has not made any influence to the CID or Attorney General's Department. 674 more COVID-19 cases reported today in the country, increasing total thus far to 103,050. The Minister of Education is to run all government schools under a single timetable. A circular was issued on ensuring public service without interruption. And on news overseas, Delhi adds makeshift crematoriums as deaths climb. That ends this news broadcast.